This is Gene Montrestill, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 532, originally aired May 25th, 2022. Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you happen to be listening to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today we are going to talk about the place that I start every single time I'm tapping. This is when I'm tapping on my own. This is when I'm tapping with my clients, but this is the place to start. And if you start here, you are going to find that you're going to get more out of every single round of tapping every single time you sit down. Before we do that, two quick announcements. Number one, we have a free 10-part guide on how you can use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. It's absolutely free. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button. If you happen to be listening to this right now on the website, go up in that upper right-hand corner, click the big blue button, and every day for the next 10 days, I'm going to send you one small, easy, bite-sized thing that you can do with tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. Take the action you want. So at the end of 10 days, you can pick the tool or two that work best for you and just use them over and over again. Number two, I want to thank all of the supporters of the Tapping Q&A podcast. These are people who voluntarily give money every single month to ensure that you receive this high-quality podcast absolutely free. And the really cool thing is 10% of all of the money that comes in from those contributions, we turn around and loan out to Kiva. I was just doing a little bookkeeping this morning, and we have supported over 1,400 small businesses all over the world. And the really cool thing is every single time the loan is paid out, we just pay it back out so we can use it over and over again. If you'd like to support the podcast, support the amazing work we're doing with small business owners all over the world, and receive some really cool free gifts, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. And once again, thank you very much for our awesome supporters. As a tapper, one of the things I have found is that there are a number of healing fundamentals that I work from. That these are the forms, these are the frameworks that help me to understand the human experience, to understand transformation, to understand how we find root causes. And because I have these dispositions and I have these ideas, they guide me in the work that I'm doing. They guide me when I'm tapping on my own. They guide me when I'm tapping with my clients. And I don't necessarily think they are the best dispositions in the world or the only dispositions in the world, but they're certainly dispositions that really help me. And one of those dispositions is all transformation starts by stating what is. Let me say that again. All transformation starts by saying what is. And on one level, that's kind of obvious. Like, I can't transform something unless I'm naming the thing I am trying to transform. But the reality is, oftentimes, particularly when we are emotional, we aren't exactly sure what we're trying to change, how we want it to change, what we want the outcome to be. We just know there's a problem. You know, one of my favorite questions that I use with my clients, so much so that some of my long-term clients actually ask the question before I get a chance to do it. And the question is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? And so what happens is when I'm talking to a client is they're sharing all of this information, they're data dumping, they're talking, which is what we do when we're processing. And oftentimes the first pass through that, we're not actually stating what the problem is or what we want instead. We're just sharing our experience. And all transformation starts by stating what is. That's part of it. But also part of it is naming where we are going. And so for me, I have two key phrases that I like to use at the beginning of my tapping, and I use them over and over again. And if you've listened to tap-alongs before, if you've ever showed up to any of my live classes where I'm tapping with people live, you'll hear me use these all of the time. I'm not just teaching this. This is something I use constantly because I think it's so valuable. So the first statement is, I recognize the fact that, and then we insert the information that we know, and that makes me feel, and then we insert the emotions that we experience. So we're stating the facts as they are, or how we understand them, and we're saying how they make us feel. And we're tapping while we're doing this. And one of the things that is interesting is that while we are tapping and we're making statements like that, emotion is coming up, we are tapping, the emotion is going down because we're tapping, and as the emotions go down, the problem becomes clearer. I recognize the fact that I'm really angry at the situation. I recognize the fact things are not going my way, and it makes me really angry. I recognize the fact that things aren't going my way because I have this expectation that isn't being met. And so as we're tapping, information starts to unpack itself and starts to unfold. And so we can go back to this again and again. And then the second thing I like to do is, and I give myself permission, and then there are three options. I give myself permission to think, I give myself permission to feel, I give myself permission to believe. And so then what we're doing here is we're giving ourselves permission to state what we would like instead. So I recognize the fact that, insert details, and it makes me feel, insert emotion, and I give myself permission to think, to feel, to believe, and in that give myself permission state, we can do one of two things. And I give myself permission to be in a really bad mood because this sucks. Or I give myself permission to recognize the fact that the other person was doing the best that they could, and that still makes me angry. So we can go one of two directions. We can say the thing that we want to give ourselves permission to stay, or we give ourselves permission to do something else, and then if we're going to do something else, we add on the emotion to the end of it. And so by using these as frameworks, what they do is they give us a great ability to start a session in such a way where it's really easy for us to know where to start. One of the questions that I hear most consistently is, I would tap more, but I don't know what to say. If you don't know what to say, all transformation starts by stating what is, and to do that, we have two phrases. I recognize the fact that, and it is making me feel. And the second phrase is, I give myself permission to think, feel, believe. The positive, think, feel, believe. The negative, and give an emotional tag to the end of that. And by doing that, it's just going to make it so much easier for you to step in. So give that a try. You don't have to make this your entire tapping session, but you could. But what it does, if anything else, is it gives you an entry point that makes it super easy to start when you're not exactly sure where to do that. So I'd love to hear your experience with that. You can always drop me a note at support@tappingqna.com. I'm the one that reads all the support emails about the content and what comes in. I love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear the way that you're implementing these things in your daily tapping practice so I can learn from that as well. If you know someone in your life who would appreciate a conversation like this, maybe they see this as a useful tool, please pass it along. Our marketing budget is your word of mouth. And if you offer someone to a friend, it's going to make their day a little better. Even if they don't click the link, the simple fact you send them a note saying, hey, I'm thinking of you. I hope you're having a better day today. That's an awesome thing that you can do for them. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast. In podcasting parlance, subscribe is free. Wherever you listen to audio, you can go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, Audible, basically everywhere you get audio online. Just search Tapping Q&A, click follow, click subscribe, whatever the button is in the app of choice, and most importantly, turn on those notifications so every single time a new episode comes out, you know right away. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, Gene Monterostelli, I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Monterostelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Monterostelli and Tapping Q&A.